people won't change because it's making them money.
This is true.
Where I'm on the side of, well, we will have to change because I don't want to make money that way. And, I represent a significantly large geek and nerd community that, got angered and hurt, and there have to be consequences there. And, if
without further ado, Mr. Keith Gibbs, welcome to the stream.
Welcome. Thank you, Andy, for having me.
Let's get this going right off the rip. First and foremost, thank you for speaking up about the issue, because other people may have not have, but more importantly, thank you for coming forward to speak publicly about it. Whereas some people are taking like a silent stance. So from everyone,
some may know and some may not that, especially this past spring, Fayetteville Comic Con made a great effort to partner with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to raise awareness, as well as both, mourn and celebrate Jason David Frank's life. JDF, as we all know here, and I'm sure many of you know, was a true fans person. I mean, he was the last man standing. He would make sure that you got your signature. He would, spot you in the crowd and pull you up and make sure you had that experience that wasn't just walking by a table and getting something scribbled on. So with a lot of his, outlook on life, and knowing that he, even with those, he had his struggles, we committed to seeing that those same mental health issues, those same questions are in our own groups, in our fans that come to our shows. And we wanted to make that a celebration of his life, but also a very heavy awareness around, what you can do if you start to drift into thoughts of self-harm. And so when the statement came out on the anniversary of Jason's taking his own life, a lot of people hit me up with it immediately.
Okay.
Right? Knowing that we had just, we were the first show to do something together. We had Rangers from every season he participated in, including Legend of the White Dragon, upcoming project. We did Forever Green tributes to him. We raised money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We allowed his daughter and wife to be surrounded by love at a time when they needed that. And so just from a personal, disgust that somebody would say something like that, hit me hard. But that's the illogical part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The logical part of it is that the guy is a booking agent for talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if people don't know what that is, it's just somebody who makes contact with shows and comic book stores, or what used to be car lot openings things back when Burt Ward and Adam West did it as Batman and Robin. But then to find a celebrity appearance who will come into the show. And a lot of times that's not somebody who's even in the business. It's just a buddy. It's just an entourage. It's, it's E or Turtle, or, from Entourage, being the guy that's walking around the Vinny getting things signed. But it breeds a person, and not all are the same, but it definitely breeds a person that starts to think of themselves as more than others because they have access to celebrity. And that's a sickness in this convention circuit. It really is. And it's a US sickness. I mean, it's not, you go to Australia place. I mean, nobody bothers the celebrities. They work just like everybody else works. They work at their job, but you can be walking down the street and there's the guy from, NCIS Sydney or something.
Okay.
And it's just not that big of a deal, right? It's the propagation of that hero worship. And for people like JDF, man, you hear thousands of stories about how he helped somebody at a time in their life just by being on a certain day, by being part of a show that talked about teenage issues and trends, or just all the other special things he did. He gave talks. So, you don't act, you act right, or your grandma makes you go get a Switch.
Oh
right?
gosh.
I
Gosh.
don't want grandma going to get my Switch, or me going to get a Switch for grandma. But, you either act right or you don't act. And the reason we took a firm stance is this is not the first agent or talent that we've heard of or witnessed or directly seen, misbehave. We've had agents that have come to our shows to rep somebody who get drunk and belligerent to my hotel staff, and I kick them to the curb. The problem, and I think that I could see, and I'm not going to play devil's advocate for Zach. I would encourage somebody close to him to really get close to him to determine if there's some larger mental issues that need to be addressed. But whatever broke him, right? And we can't, and when damage is done, you can't forgive. You can forgive, you can't excuse, right?
100%.
You can't put somebody, who's good in a place that they could just do it again. And when you find out all these things about our behavioral, as a con runner, the number one, and I'm a show runner with my family. My wife and my two daughters help out. We have a very, very tight volunteer group, very great friends that work together. Is that you don't come into our house and talk bad about us. And so the dynamics of promoters, fans, guests, agents, artists, and vendors is a little screwed up. And I think it promotes some of this hero type activity, worship activity, that is really detrimental to the convention platform.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it, and I think everyone is seeing it. Speaking of Zach, I didn't want to touch on Zach right away, but hey, we're here. Has he reached out to you to try to regain your trust or your business?
No, and the point that you talked about earlier and talked about yesterday as well, which people really need to understand, is part of the problem is the talent themselves. You have Power Rangers guests, may have done a couple seasons, maybe just a thing. They realize that they can make money on the convention circuit, so they want to get into as many conventions as possible. So they'll work with 8, 9 different bookers, right? And so I get somebody presented to me by 3 different groups. Oh, well, I'll bring in, Walter Jones, or I'm bringing him in, or if you bring him in, you have to bring him in. And all of those non being exclusive with somebody makes it extremely chaotic, to the point that people who are in those positions will do anything to get their scratch, right? So they'll go above and beyond. They'll start, buying dinners or buying gifts for the kids and stuff. When, to be absolutely honest, what you do is you make sure pictures get printed. You make sure the guy's got pens. You give them the schedule. You handle some money. You go home. It's far from being a complicated thing. And for a con runner, it's so irritating because they're basically in the way, right?
Yeah.
They're bringing their attitude and their point of view into my house and acting in a certain way that they think best benefits their client instead of acting in a way that best benefits my fans. So, or, being rude or rushing people through lines or not letting the little kid talk for a couple minutes, because once you put that agent on there needs to be more money made.
Oh, 100%.
And
Yeah.
that is a little bit of the biggest problem, because what that means is that every signature, an autograph, or special item or fan experience is just going to get more and more expensive. And so the fan can't get what they want, or they have to stand in huge lines. Like if you go to Galaxy Cons or something where, the guests are only there for a couple hours at a time. So now you have 400 people in line. And when you get there, you're spending $100. And when they do guarantees like that, that's the only way to make those guarantees. Fayetteville says, my show, we don't do guarantees.
Oh, wow.
I because it's not fair to the promoter, because that means that the guest has to be willing to sell their product at a price point that works in that marketplace. But most guests say, "Oh, I get $80 a signature." I'm like, "That's great in Raleigh or Louisville. In Fayetteville, I need that 80 to become 62.50, right? Because you can gauge it against the cost of living, cost of goods sold. A 16-ounce bottle of Pepsi in Raleigh costs $1.99. In Fayetteville, it costs $1.39. Why? Because they could sell it at $1.39 in Fayetteville and not $1.99. So that's why, you have to really try to work with people that understand that my job is to get the doors open and get a good marketplace in there of anime vendors and comic books and toys and horror and stuff. Get some good quality guests in there, but the guests themselves, they need to hustle, right? They need to make their money. If they don't make it, I gave them the opportunity. But that idea that, celebrity says, "Oh, I'm only going to come if I'm guaranteed to make 10 grand." We're just starting to say, well, sorry, would have loved to have you. You
Wow.
might make 7. You might make 10 if you work it. If you have a new picture or a good experience, or you walk around the show, but it's not my job to make you money. And that was one of the big things, because a lot of fans don't recognize that promoters of medium-sized shows, right? We all know there's Comic-Cons like New York City Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con. That is Walt Disney World, Walt Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
You're going to pay a lot, you're going to wait a lot, and it's magic in there, right? You're going to see all those characters that you love. All the big guys are going to be there. You're going to be able to take a little autograph book around, autograph, but you're going to pay a couple $100 for parking, a couple $100 for a place to stay, a couple $100 for the ticket, but you'll get your experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's those cons like Baltimore or Fan Expos or C2E2 that are like the Six Flags, or Universal Studios. They're bigger, but not as big. They still got a lot going on. They're still expensive, but they're fun, right? And then you got the ones that are, more really like the Galaxy Cons that are like the Busch Gardens numbers. And then you have shows everywhere like mine, which is like the State Fair, right? You're going to have fun. You're not going to have to spend a lot of money, but you also know that you're not going to be getting, Shatner.
Yeah, or Mike Tyson. I was looking at some of his prices. I'm like, Jesus.
I mean, we may get Buster Douglas. I've had Buster Douglas. Buster
Okay.
Douglas is great. You play Buster Douglas Knockout on the Sega with him, and you beat him every time because his thumbs are so big, man. He can't hit, but he has a good time with it. But fans need to look beyond guests to determine the quality of a show. And if they do that, what that is going to force agents and things to do is to really work with shows for their guests to come to provide better experience, not just signature.
Oh,
to have unique art pieces, to have, meet and greets instead of just lines, things that add value to, you get a Benjamin, man, you want to get every dollar out of that $100 bill, right? You want it. So you want to walk away with a cool print, a photo, an autograph, a couple minutes of talking, maybe an exclusive sticker that's just there free of charge, things like that make it worth it. And it's the agents that could really help shows by helping us set up their guests for success, instead of just saying, well, he needs a first-class plane ticket. I need a plane ticket because I'm coming with him. No, he can't stay in the same room. He likes to have his own room. So you're going to have to get a room for me and him. And then you're going to have to give us per diem money. And then you're going to have to give us the, appearance fee or guarantee. And all that just destroys how fun a show can be.
Wow. I agree with you. I've been to a con and I paid my money for my selfie. It lasted less than 30 seconds, not much conversation, and a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
So, is there any acts that you were looking forward to booking this year that may have fell through just for a scheduling issue, not necessarily a guaranteed issue?
We will have acts that I won't be able to come to grips with because we're the only show of my size or larger that has a zero guarantee policy. So it's hard for people to wrap their head around that because they're used to going somewhere and getting $5,000 for no reason. I mean, they could sign one autograph, they would still make $5,000.
That's not fair to the promoter.
Yeah.
At all.
So I started with, well, I'll give you a guarantee, but then anything over that guarantee goes back to pay for the hotel room and the flight. And then if you pass that, then it comes back to both of us 50-50. And they get confused about that. There should be a certification for talent coming to cons, which is just personal finance 101. How to make change, how to run a square reader. But it's tough changing something that is successful in so many other places, but it's successful because it's making money. And all those things, I know you alluded to and you talked about, Zach, is that people won't change because it's making them money.
This is true.
Where I'm on the side of, well, we will have to change because I don't want to make money that way.
Now, speaking of that, do you think that, con owners and promoters will eventually ignore these issues and have talent on his roster at their con? I don't want to name names, but do you think they'll eventually go back to booking with Galactic Productions?
Absolutely, because there are people out there that are in this first and foremost as a business, right? And the only way that business could be hurt is for fans to, rise up and not go. And that's hard to think that a show like Louisville or someplace or Nashville would be so boycotted that people wouldn't go, because you have to get into that point where you have to inform 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people of why you shouldn't go to that show if they book this. So there are more guests out there than you could ever imagine. I mean, there's 100 Power Rangers if you wanted them. I'm doing a show coming up in the spring.
That's a truthful statement.
We're focusing kind of on the old G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. Now knowing's half the battle may be a fun topic because they got cool toys, cool videos, cool cartoons, cool movies. new stuff happening in their franchise, and we're on a military base. But you can always find guests. And if you find guests that are interactive, that tell good stories, that participate in the show, people are going to want to meet them. You always get this, well, I'm not going to Fayetteville because I don't see anybody on the guest list that they like. Well, okay, but that's your there. You've just said that your reason to go to a show is to meet guests. So if that's your reason, Galaxy Con's an hour and a half up the road in Raleigh. Heroes Con is 3 hours over in Charlotte. New York City Comic Con is, a train ride up the coast.
All right.
If that's what you want, that's what you want.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is FCC sells an experience because we don't offer a guarantee, and all of our talent is going to work for your business, and they're going to work to keep you coming. So it may not be the biggest act per se, like William Shatner, but the next best thing, you're going to come out and you're going to have a great time at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we try to, we have a large anime fan, so we always make sure that we have some anime guests that they do well. We have a good Power Rangers solid relationship, so we always have Power Rangers. We have a great Pokemon Go group in Fayetteville that loves Pokemon, so we always team up with them to come over for one of the days, and we make sure that we have some Pokemon voice actors, and we have special cards and art and things to make it part of the the landscape of our city, so that it's a known thing twice a year. People can plan, and they plan for it as soon as they leave, of what their cosplay is going to be for the next show, or they meet up with new people and now they're going to do a different Idol Fest performance or something. It's the guest piece that is the biggest risk, the biggest cost, and sometimes the biggest hassle for the show itself.
Wow.
You're bringing in people from all over the country. They have their own jobs. They're back to work. Screen Actors Guild strike is done. You have to balance all that, transportation, getting them there, and then getting fans in front of them. And that, it's a complicated formula to work.
I'm happy you mentioned that, because that was one of my questions. Like, what was the toughest thing about setting up cons? But how did you transition into becoming the CEO of FCC? Because it didn't start with you. I believe it was 2 other people. Is that correct?
The con was founded by Michael and Pam Choudhury in 2015 as a one-day show.
Mm-hmm.
They met me in 2016 where I was volunteering at a North Carolina Comic Con, and I came down to help them. And then when Mike fell a little ill and had some health problems, I took over the show.
Oh, wow. Just stepped in.
Yeah.
Fans want to know, will you have a line at FCC if they want to meet you?
When you want to meet me, you just have to stop. You have to get in front of me, because I'm usually, I'm 6'8", 270. I'm cutting through the line like a tight end a lot of time, or riding the scooter around, checking on things. But our staff, we are fully accessible. We have one of the best volunteer coordinators in the state. She does it for us. She does it for Carolina Fear Fest. She does it for NC Comic Con. So we've really tried to invest in getting good, solid volunteer support, which means that, problems are solved, or problems just don't even come up. I've often thought about having a print made of just some electrical wires across the sky. And I want to say that I was a stunt double for the Vanisher in Deadpool 2. And when the Vanisher hits the electrical wires, and all of a sudden he's Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah, for a split second.
Yeah. I was the stunt double for that. So anytime you don't see Brad, it's me.
All right.
And I'll sign stuff.
Wow. How did you get into cons? You mentioned Batman and Robin going to car dealerships way back in the day. Growing up, what was the quintessential show that got you into the fandom?
So I started through comic books with G.I. Joe off the spinner rack at the Smoke Shop on North Avenue in Owego, New York. I
Okay.
bought that comic every month. Uh, when I went off to college, I had it subscribed and it got mailed to me. Um, I was 10, 11 when the cartoon came out. And in that time, I was also playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and reading a lot of fantasy, mostly Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, Terry Brooks, uh, Ursula K. Le Guin. And my grandmother lived in Baltimore, and we would go down and visit her every summer. And there was a small sci-fi fantasy convention down there every year where I would find really cool Tolkien books, like
Mm-hmm.
other editions of Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, but also other works by Tolkien and atlases and maps. So that got me, kind of knowledgeable that there's these clubs and, fan things out there. Um, then playing some early Atari video games, you found out that, hey, you could go, there's a Pitfall tournament in Syracuse with 500 people coming to play Pitfall, and you kind of got some of that. But when I went to college and entered the Air Force, comic books were a big part of my life. It's something to do in the barracks. And when I moved to North Carolina, I peeked into a little teeny comic book show, which was just a small ballroom in a hotel, mostly just comic book dealers. Went to the next one of those, and then when a bigger one came around, I went over to just mostly just like go through long boxes and look for cool toys. But then when my daughters were born and wanted to start coming with me, they started cosplaying. So now we're there all day, right? So now
Okay.
there's a reason to be there all day. And so I started volunteering at shows because they would give me free tickets for my kids if I just worked. And I mean, I'm like I said, I was just spending an hour or two anyways, just going through long boxes. I might as well go help with lines or, panels and screenings. I've always been able to use my voice to be like that. Everybody, please move to the
I
center of the
mean,
aisle, make room for everybody. Missy will be out here in about 20 minutes. We're going to be quiet. Make sure your cell phones are turned off. Go Power Rangers or something like that.
yeah, with you being 6'8", you're going to command attention. People are
Yeah,
not giving you too much stuff.
yeah.
It's morphin' time.
But I've always been one of those ones to just jump in anyways. And advice to any of your audience here: if you want great experience at shows, volunteer at shows. You get those experiences of meeting people back in the green room or sitting at somebody's table with them when they take a break, and then you come back and you get a nice 5 minutes with Richard Dreyfuss or Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime or something. All these great experiences I've had just because you're willing to help out.
Who was the best experience you've ever had with with a talent or something that has blown your mind? Like, oh,
Um,
maybe the Optimus Prime voice, like do the voice, stuff like that.
uh, I've been very lucky to have a lot of even backstage experience with people because you're driving around, we're going to dinners or stuff. I really enjoyed spending time with Larry Hama, the original creator of GI Joe. Peter Mayhew was a huge, great meeting at a Wizard World Portland when I was working out there. Have the picture he signed on the wall, but him being somebody bigger than me but his wife was just so kind and nice and just had just great conversations. Rosario Dawson, I've met her a couple times, and she remembered me, and that was super sweet. Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith, pretty awesome.
Okay.
But nobody that's been, Billy D. I think maybe one of my best experiences was Billy D. Williams in Chicago because I wore my NCIS hat and told them, my last name's Gibbs and my brother's name is Jethro, and this is before any of this, and that I really enjoyed his character on it, and he wanted to talk down, and he asked me about my dad, and so Billy D took like 5 minutes talking to me while this line's going on.
Okay, Billy D. But now you were watching the stream yesterday,
Yeah,
and you mentioned Peter Mayhew. I'm not going to repeat what Zach said. I don't know if you're familiar with what Zach said about Peter Mayhew.
Yeah, which is another something you don't. I can't even think things like that about people, let alone say something like "I wish upon him a long, painful death." That's, Peter was the nicest guy in the world. I didn't know him well, but I'm a good judge of character. But I definitely enjoy a lot of the stuff that he did after, in terms of charities and appearances. And felt close to him because same issue with knees and wrists.
Yeah, when you start getting a certain height, everything breaks down a little faster. Jesus, man, this has been like a phenomenal interview. What do your daughters cosplay as? You said, hey, they cosplay. What do they typically dress up as?
Not your.
Sorry.
They lean into, with their groups, a lot of the idol groups, Love Live, or they cosplay Danganronpa for a while. Both of them still have some classic Disney characters they do. Merida, from Brave, especially. Some Studio Ghibli. My youngest really enjoys cosplaying Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. But they still have some older ones. I mean, their first ones were Bulbasaur and Oshawott from Pokemon.
Pokemon. Oh, my goodness.
But they've done, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
As well as some original characters, original stuff. But we have a really good cosplay community in Central North Carolina. A lot of opportunities.
Now, do you dress up yourself? Do you have any costumes?
I do. And I have. I did a pretty good Black Bolt from the Inhumans, which, as you know, he doesn't speak. If he was to speak, it would blow the world apart. So I wore it specifically so I didn't have to talk to people there and stay in costume. I did I had one of my guys designs by Delvecchio Coleman, does some really cool foam work, and he did a Moon Knight for me that I did Mr. Knight and Moon Knight. But the one I most recently did is he helped me put together the Pumpkin Rapper from season 1 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Pumpkin Rapper from season 1.
Yep, he's the character where a bunch of the putties come up after him, and there he is right there.
Got him. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. All right, last personal question. You said you played Atari. Are you partaking in any of the games that are out now? Like any gaming system? Maybe you play with your daughters.
Yep. So I'm a little behind, but I have in our alcove here Atari 2600 and television, ColecoVision, Nintendo NES, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, Sega Dreamcast.
He's a gamer.
Xbox 1, 2, 3, 4, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple other variants. I just finished playing the Scott Pilgrim versus the World on PS4. I got that really cool commemorative box set that had the drumsticks and stuff in it. But right now I'm playing Dragon's Lair on PS4, which is a recreation of a classic 80s video game that was definitely a coin suck because it's all pattern based, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have to go forward. You have to hit the sword, go left, go right, hit the sword. And, so I beat the first level of it, and I'm now on Dragon's Lair 2.
Wow. Kids these days, and maybe I'm showing my age, my daughter has no idea what coins are. We go somewhere, we get a card, we swipe the card, and and that's that. They don't know about taking, you know, a $20 bill, going up to the change machine and getting your 40 tokens.
Yep, I still have tokens from Aladdin's Castle, Chuck E. Cheese, Arcade Parade, all these places I used to go to.
Someone wants to know. We'll do 5 minutes of fan questions. Are you any good at Smash Brothers?
No.
He said no, guys.
Yeah, I mean, so like with most games, I'm extremely ADHD and I have carpal tunnel, right?
Oh,
Because I'm old. So I can't play for long periods of time anymore. I like to just get on, run a couple runs, play something. I love SSX Tricky snowboarding game.
uh-huh.
One of my favorites.
All right. Another question. Is there a dream guest that you're looking forward to booking? And what can fans look forward to at the April show? Like, you know, that guest that you always want, but, you know, just.
So it's tough, right? Because you always have to remember that, you know, one adage we use if you're running a show is you can't build a show just for yourself, right? You can't just bring in what you like.
Right.
So you try to look around, try to find, you know, this, but you know, big stars have big dollars. You know, when you're talking Shatner, you're talking anywhere from $100 to $250,000 just to get them there. That's 8 times my guest budget, right? to swing one guy. But you know, there's other ways to bring people in and you know, some partnerships and some things. I would really like to get Neil Gaiman, author of the Sandman and some of that, since I really enjoy that Sandman universe and its ties into Justice League Dark. But you know, I'm just like everybody else. I mean, I'm not gonna go get a Chris Evans or a Hemsworth or a thing. You can go other places and meet them. You know, it's foolish to say that, and it wouldn't be fair to my fans because now all they're doing when they come to the show is stand in a line for that quick opportunity to meet that big guest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's for the spring show, like I said, we're leading in a little bit to G.I. Joe. Reason is, you know, we sit in the same town as Fort Liberty, used to be Fort Bragg, largest military installation on the planet, 55,000 soldiers that, and we usually get about 2,000 of them that couldn't come out this past show because of the war in Gaza. So that we took a hit. So we're going to kind of do a little welcome back them. And I'd like to get maybe Ray Park, who I've met once. He's best known for Darth Maul, but he was also Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe, 2 G.I. Joe movies. He was also Toad in that one X-Men film.
For
really
like
cool
5
dude.
seconds. Yeah, I remember that.
But really cool dude. I mean, and it'd be cool to have him as a.
You know, he's one of my favorite Star Wars villains, Darth Maul. His motivations were, I'm not going to say aligned with mine, but I understood him. Mm-hmm. I'll just say that. All right, guys. That was, I only allotted for 30 minutes. We'll see if any good questions come up. We'll probably see another question for Keith. What will he call his con's identity? I don't get it.
So all cons have a little bit of an identity, right? And
okay.
Our identity is we are a fan-run show for fans.
Okay.
You know, if it's geek, we've got it. So we try to not. We always offer a little bit of a different mix of anime, horror, wrestling. We have live wrestling, but it's if our identity statement, it's a fan-run show for fans, meaning that we're not a corporation trying to shove content into people's faces and expect them to pay big money for it. We survey our guests, we get them involved, we try to come up with good our fans try to come up with good fan experiences. but we also really do focus on our local talent a lot of the time. So our local comic book creators, which we have some really great ones. We have, minor celebrities, local celebrities that we will always try to give an opportunity to. We try to celebrate our local cosplayers, because our identity is a fan-run show for fans. We don't have the greatest benefits that bigger towns have, like a lot of hotels and stuff right near the venue, but we do have free parking.
Yeah. Hey, that's a plus for people who want free parking. Because I hate it. But anyway.
But like you said, our identity is a fan-run show for fans, and we have a very strongly written zero tolerance policy. I'm one of those guys that's been taught that if it takes shutting the whole thing down to make it right, that's what we'll do. We won't pander. Like, we've had other guests that have had some issues in the media that we've had, and then they've asked to come back, and I've just been like, no, I get it. But I'm not going to bring you back, because that puts my credibility is then spent on bringing you, the guest, back who has some, whether it's inappropriate behavior tied to you in the media or something. Even if you didn't do it, I don't care. Right. I have fans coming in the room, young people coming into the room. I'm protecting them. I don't need to protect you. You can go to any show you want. My people need to stay in town, with the money they have or whatever they have. So, it's always looking to take the right side, do what's right. And so we do a pretty, I think Chris Ace, one of my guys. We do a pretty good deep dive. Like you say, we're going to investigate before we put them on the roster.
You dig, bro. You like to dig.
So yes, and I commend you on having standards and standing on morals when it comes to booking talent, because, like you said, there are cons out there who's going to. Well, this person's going to make me some money, so I'm going to book them no matter what. I may not advertise them. I may do it under the table, but they're going to be there. We're going to.
But that's the thing, is that they don't always make promoters money, because you can't tell why somebody came to the show. It's really hard, right? We get the same number of people, really, no matter who we bring. Mm-hmm. So it's the number of people that defines it, not the who we bring. And sure, you get a lot of attention if you're bringing in Steve or Mel or some other big name that people want to meet. Great, but that doesn't necessarily make the show money. It makes the person money.
Yeah.
And we just kind of gamble that people are going to want to come see them, and but I'll close out that we will believe and if we could convince other cons that are coming up, small shows, I've mentored some other folks who have started some small shows that have, a retail spot behind it. Like, it's always great if you can have a con and you're a comic book store, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Now you're just having a bigger reason to people come buy your stuff. See, I just don't have that. But if, I'm not, telling you about it, but I was an Eagle Scout. The tenets of an Eagle Scout: you're trustworthy, you're loyal, you're helpful, you're friendly, you're courteous, kind, you're obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. If you just kind of live like that as you're trying to build an organization, it's done on trust, and then people can come together and be who they want to be and how they want to be at low stress. We don't have one of those everybody yelling at each other across the room cons to get in lines or stop running or drop them, but we got 5,000 people running around. It's just, you just have to decide what you can do. So
well said. Well, thank you, Keith. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us for the time you spent. We wish you all the best, and guys, if you plan on going to FCC, Get them hotels now. It's not too many close to the venue. Book them flights as well. Thank you so much, Keith.
Yep, I appreciate your time, especially not just and thank you for recognizing. I wasn't looking for no other recognition than you see somebody do something bad and leaders speak, right? And I represent a significantly large geek and nerd community that got angered and hurt, and there have to be consequences there. And if fans don't stop giving celebrity the power over them, if celebrities don't stop thinking that they need these booking agents to do what they do, and they let them be more than just what they really are, which is just accountants and clerks, right? When they start letting them speak their mind on issues, and sure, everybody should have a chance to speak their mind, but if you do something like that in the NFL,
oh, you're done.
You're done.
Toast.
If you do something like that in Hollywood, you're not getting an Oscar. So it's the way the world works that you cannot excuse evil if you're trying to do something good. It's the one bad apple spoils a bunch. It's any one of those analogies. But, I read the Fopology, which coming out of an intelligence officer and public relations background, I could tell you somebody wrote that for me because it's intended to not say I'm sorry, but make people think you said you're sorry.
Yes. It rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, including most people in my audience. And he said he might do it again. So I'm like, it was just too cringe for me.
And so then everything your other guest was sharing, there's a pattern of behavior, and if the pattern of behavior is there because of the role he's playing, there is nothing the community could do to help him more than to help get him out of those situations. Right? It'll help the man if it's the stress and the celebrity and that's making him behave in a way like that. Because he wasn't a Ranger.
Nope.
Right? He wasn't in the cast. He just happened to be a booking agent that ran across these people. Should not really be speaking on things like that. I mean, I'll talk about anything, but I'm not going to talk about, have a little bit of a filter,
I agree, and you hit the nail on the head. Any other industry, he's done. He's toast.
Yeah.
But, for some strange reason, some people want to keep booking with them or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I get it, but I don't get the immediately increase the price of autographs on your eBay.
Shit! Oh,
keep it. I wish the worst of you, but I'm still going to show you and me, posing on the in memoriam page.
Oh yeah, he still has JDF on the memoriam page, and it is disgusting. He has Peter Mayhew on there too. I don't know what's going through a lot of people's mind who continue to book with him, but there he goes right there. There's Peter Mayhew. And if you scroll up, you will see, JDF somewhere in here. There he goes right there. You would think that after making such a post, you remove him from the website completely.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that, when people think of this day, they're going to remember Zach's post about him. It sucks for the family and all parties involved.
And something that always has caught me weird about agents is, I like to go to a show or somebody comes to a show and I get a picture with somebody. I love it. I love that picture I have with Billy D. Williams. I love a picture I have with Frankie Muniz, who's Malcolm from Malcolm in the Middle, who grew up in the town I live in here in North Carolina. those are just cool, and you share them with people, and then I file it away. But he doesn't have on his pages pictures of the celebrity doing celebrity things. It's a picture of him and the celebrity. Right? It's him and the celebrity. And there's a false pride. Something about that just rubs me wrong, right? It's every one of his guys. Here's he and that guy, or gal, not, well, here's Barbara Goodson, and then here's Barbara's, character Rita, or, so it's just, here's a picture of Zach and whoever, right?
Holy man.
There's a little bit of ego there that,
Hey, you are cooking. And I didn't want to go there, but when you went there, I was like, all right, cool. This is what this is what I wish most people would do, and come out and take a hard stance and not just, kind of sweep it under the rug for the sake of making money.
So in today's day and age where everything is out there, you look for signs of people you want to do business with. And the other agents that I no longer will do work with and made it formally known are those that made it way too difficult for me to work with the guest. They don't want you talking directly to the guest because they're so scared that you're going to steal them, right? So they have to be in the middle, which delays everything. Any flight change, anything. It's like, I call the agent, get the agent involved. Or you just want to do something fun and the agent didn't tell the talent. So now the talent doesn't want to go do the panel because they weren't. And, I just tell them all, it's like, I'm paying you all to be here for 2 days. You do whatever I ask you to do, sometimes that's how it has to be, but it's funny, but funny is not the right word. It's that feeling of a little bit disturbed. Like, I'm disturbed by it, and I find it queer and funny that people behave as a celebrity when they're not celebrities.
Well said.
Or people behave like they're huge celebrities.
Yeah, when
they're not huge celebrities.
I mean, when the post went live, it was like, well, who is he? And then I had to go dig him up and oh, I thought it was just some random fan making some stupid post. And then lo and behold, it turned out to be someone connected to the industry.
Yeah.
But man, Keith, this has been phenomenal interview.
Yeah.
And
I just hope people realize that conventions are a congregation, right? That Congress, it's that place where we gather to share our common love for whatever it is, whether it's science fiction, books, movies, comic books, cosplay, whatever fandom it is, whether, it's Rangers, Beetleborgs, Rangers and Beetleborgs, it doesn't matter. And everybody involved in putting on an event like that needs to be putting fans first, and the feelings of fans and the experience that a fan is going to have meeting a celebrity or getting pictures with a cosplay or participating in a trivia contest or an art contest. It's that experience that is the value that we bring. Anything else, there's no value, right? The infighting, the constant, who's my agent, who's this agent, who's booking this. It's when the show is on, the curtain's up, that's when the value is. And everybody that plays a part of that needs to understand that. And I just think this individual, for example, and some other agents and promoters forget that there's somebody on the other end that bought a ticket, that none of it would matter if they weren't there. So fans first.
Well, man, well said. We'll end on that note, Keith. Everyone, please put Keith in the chat. Give him a round of applause for taking time out of his day to be so candid about the recent events, man. All right, Keith, I'm going to drop you down. Wonderful interview. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you for everything you do in the community. You're also enjoyable to watch and find.
He laughed. He laughed. All right, I'm about to get Keith.
Anything you need, hit me up anytime.
All right. I will keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. All right. Thank you, Keith. All right, that was Keith, everybody. God damn, what a great interview. Jesus. Did anyone expect him to call out Austin St. John for raising the goddamn prices? Bad boys, what you gonna do? I caught that shit and I was like, I wish I had the thing loaded. I didn't know Keith was going to go. I didn't know Keith was choosing violence. He was like, no, I'm not letting that shit rot. He's not letting it rot. And I appreciate him, as they say, as the kids say, standing on business, standing on principles, standing on morals, guided by the tenets of the Boy Scouts. We appreciate him, friend of the show for forever, because he definitely didn't have to do that. And he definitely have to be so honest, where people are risking getting canceled, losing viewerships. I forgot to ask him, was he attacked by any, crazy fans for taking such a hard stance against Zach? And I think he did a great job calling out the people who still going to just throw away their morals just to, potentially make a couple bucks or not ruffle any feathers. But what did you guys think? Look, he was cooking so much. I was just like, I'm not saying nothing. I had a set list of questions and he start answering them. And I was like, shit, I had to start pivoting. Like, okay, what happened with you growing up? Hey, what are the daughters into? I was just like, all over the place, but I'm extremely grateful, extremely happy that he showed up because, people be flaking on me sometimes. But shout out to Keith and make sure you guys book the FCC.